You are chosen for beautiful things, even broken. I hear the stars singing your praise, calling you out, saying your name. No, it's no doubt, God made no mistake. You are chosen for beautiful things. Don't get caught up in comparison. Keep it original like you've been. This is the time to be all you can. Give yourself another hand. Take all the pressures up off your head. Every blessing is heaven sent. You are chosen for beautiful things. For beautiful things.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chayil Exchange. I'm Apostle Adrian Castle, and I am going to be your host tonight. I have alongside with me my co-laborers tonight. We have Apostle Yvonne Williams. Come on, Apostle, say hello.
Hello,
And
hello.
we have Minister Tarshir Artist, who is also with us tonight.
Hello.
All right, ladies. So we're here tonight just to talk a little bit about what valor means, what it means to the kingdom woman today. We are women of valor. Many times when you hear that word, you think of men's ministry because there's always the men of valor, the men of valor. But there's also a group of women who's called the Chayil woman. And that word means valor. And so I'm going to ask Apostle Yvonne to go ahead and kick off the conversation by talking about the woman of valor. But before we do that, let me honor my husband, Pastor Rufus Castle. We are the lead servants at Beyond the Ashes Ministry in York, South Carolina, where both of these ladies serve with me. We're so excited to be here tonight. This is a new birthing that the Father has given us in the house for our women's ministry and our mentoring segment of ministry for the ladies and our young ladies. We have a group of young ladies that we also pour into as Titus 2 women. We're raising them up early to be strong and bold and courageous in the things of God. So, Pastor Rufus, God bless you. And likewise, I'd like to honor our ministry accountability apostle, Shannon Wingett. Dad, we love you and thank you so much for breathing life into us. We are on a journey this year. We got vision. So as he began to pour into me this vision of the Chayil woman for our this year's women's ministry and this broadcast came to life. It is a blessing to have leadership in your life that speaks into the dormant places and life comes every time I'm with him. Something else inside of me come alive. So, Dad, we honor you tonight. God bless you. So, with that, I am going to turn it over to Apostle Yvonne to lead the discussion and talk about what does valor mean to today's woman. Apostle Yvonne.
Oh, praise God. I'm excited about being here. Valor. When I think of the word valor, we know the common definition of valor is strength or courage or bravery. But a lot of times I feel like people think of those when they hear those words, we think of, as it's already been said, about the men's ministry or about men. But women have strength. Their strength, our strength is in so many different ways. Our
Mhm.
strength comes in so many different ways. You can find, I feel like a woman of valor is a woman that's confident in who she is. She's sure of who she is. Not saying that she can't be taught, not saying that she's not willing to learn. No, we're not talking about arrogance, or we're talking about being confident. So if someone came to her and they're trying to sway her to go to the right or to the left, and that's not settling with her spirit, man. It's a little uncomfortable. Something don't feel right. She slows down, take a breather, and she pauses long enough to have that quiet moment, of course, with the Lord, to get clarity. And if the person or persons, if it's more than one, is trying to push it, then it usually means no. Because if you can't wait for me to get a moment to think
Mhm.
about what you're offering or what you're extending, then no, then I'm leery, I'm uncomfortable, I'm hesitant, because I feel like there's a reason, there's a motive behind there that's not usually good. So a woman, to me, a woman of valor in this season is a woman, as I said, who's confident, who's sure in who she is. And we know that saying that says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Well, she's sure who she stands on, who her confidence is in God. Her confidence is in knowing who she is, knowing that she's fearfully and wonderfully made, knowing that she's courageous, and she doesn't have to prove herself to anybody. She doesn't have to act like anybody else, talk like anybody else, look like anybody else. She's confident in who she is. She walks in a room and she's able to say she's not intimidated by other people. Titles don't mean a big deal to her, but she's assured in who she is. So that's how I see women of valor in this season, knowing who you are, and because there's so much going on in the world today. So if
Mhm.
you don't know who you are, it's easy for someone to pull you to the right or to the left. So being confident in who you are, to me, is a woman of valor in this season.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
excellent. I share many of those same sentiments, and have had to come through so many different journeys in order to get to that understanding. And we're going to talk about some of that a little bit later. But before we get to that, I want to bring Tarshia up to talk about the woman of valor from the marketplace. The marketplace is a part of the kingdom, and we have space there to amplify the name of Jesus. We have space there to amplify the character of Yahweh. But how do we do that? What does it look like from a business perspective, Tarshia? Come on and talk to us.
Hey, ladies. So, from a business perspective, speaking of a woman of valor, I have a business called Creations to a T, and we do custom T-shirts, tumblers, puzzles, anything you can think of. We can kind of try to put it together. And it's a business that I birthed about a year and a half ago, and it was just to leave something for my daughter, something for her to have. So in the marketplace for a woman of valor, it's just about being resourceful, because as women, we juggle so many things. And, and it's not just home, and it's not just working a 9 to 5. We're juggling ministry, we're juggling kids, but it's a way to be involved with the people, to be able to create something, also another stream of income,
Right.
to provide, to help for the family, to help build the kingdom. So in the marketplace, a woman of valor is somebody who uses her creativity. She taps into it, and God gives us creativities in so many ways. It's not just necessarily, T-shirts or
but it's a
things
way
like
to
that.
be
But,
involved with the
it's,
people to be able to
I mean, we
create
can be
something.
creative in
Also,
so
another
many
stream of
ways.
income.
And so when we take the creativity that God has given us, it allows us to be on a platform that we can, yes, I can provide you with a product, but I can also give you a smile, the joy of the Lord. I can share who he is. It's just about sharing who I am. And it's like what Apostle Yvonne says, walking in confidence, knowing who you are. Sometimes it's not even necessarily about just making the dollar. It's about making the connection. A woman of valor is out there to make connections and to make strong connections, because you never know how those connections are going to be used, or how you can even build somebody else's life, or how God works through you or through them. So it's more than just, let me just do something really fast to make money. Yes, money is great and it's needed. And we needed to, advance and go forward and take care of the things to live. You need money to live. But also, we know God endows blessings in many ways. And sometimes it goes beyond the dollar. And I just think that when we're out in the marketplace, we have a chance to show our creativity, but also who he created us to be. We get to show ourselves, and you get to have fun doing it. It's all about having fun.
Yeah.
and go forward and take.
We're getting to a place where fear doesn't lead our decisions. Okay. Because before you can get that courage and that strength to step out, you got to overcome fear. You got to overcome this thought. And, as children, sometimes we learn bad behaviors like pleasing people, wanting people to like us, doing things that's going to draw people to us. And so we bring those behaviors over into our adult life. And unfortunately, sometimes not sometimes, well, all the time, they become hindrances for us to really walk in the courage and the strength that we have. Maybe no one has ever told you that you were creative. How did you, Tashia, get to the point of believing I could do this? Because this was something that you've never done before starting a business, because you have a different career that's totally different from your creations to a T. So how did you overcome the fear of doing something that you've never done before?
Well, crazy story. I can relate to everything you said about the fears and wanting to do this. I'm a helper and I like to help people, and I'll go hard for other people, sometimes harder for other people than I do for myself. So I wanted to do something to kind of break me out of the box. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this business for my daughter, even though, she's in college, she's running everything, but I'm kind of running everything behind the scenes. But it was like mentally, I was like, if I don't put it out there for myself, I'm putting it out there for her and me. It's harder because I feel like, I can be in the background, but it's something that put me in the forefront. Right. Even when I didn't think it was going to be. But you know what? I just came to the point of, well, let me tell you this. I've done a lot of different businesses. This is just the only one that I put out there publicly, but I've done over the years, t-shirts, jewelry, I've made baskets, I've sold things, but I have this mindset that I can do anything that I put my mind to. Like, I'm a researcher. So I'm the type of person that, there's nothing that I can't do. So yeah, I remember when I first started and I was like, all right, I'm going to make my first t-shirt. I don't know how this is going to work, but I get online, I watch a video, I figure it out, and I'm going to do. And a lot of times we learn how to do a lot of things, but we're afraid to put it to action. And we're so full of knowledge, but we're not using it to bless ourselves or anybody else with it. So I've gotten to a place to where it's like, I'm going to learn something and then I'm going to try it. I'm going to learn something and then I'm going to try it. And then it was building blocks. And then before you know it, it's like I'm doing all these things that I never even thought was possible. And it just is another confidence builder to keep going. You can't stop where you are. And sometimes we tend to plateau in the area because it feels comfortable. Yeah. But, the more we break out of comfortability, we see sides of ourselves that we didn't even know we had. And then those sides build and they become strong. And then before you know it, you're like, wow, this shy girl that everything bothered is now out talking, speaking, doing, meeting people, talking to people about different things. So it was just kind of going through it and being afraid. And even still to this day, sometimes fear creeps up or I might doubt myself of doing it, but I just refuse to give up.
See,
I'm going to hang on.
I love that. Apostle, come on in. Jump right on in. What about you? Overcoming fear to be able to walk in that place of courage and trying something new that you've never done before. Listen, I got the t-shirt because if God tell me to do something, I don't have to know how to do it. I'm going to get in. I'm going to dig my heels in until I figure it out. I'm going to tell y'all a funny story in a minute, but go ahead.
Well, I'll say for me, it was like I want to say like an aha moment. I don't know any other way to describe it. But when I hit 40, for whatever reason, I don't know what that number represented, but for me, but when I hit 40, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of trying to be somebody else, because that's what I had been trying to do, be somebody else. What, like you said, people around us that we mimic or we because I feel like a lot of times when people praise somebody all the time,
Mhm.
You then start to think that they're doing something right. So I want to do what they're doing because that's where obviously everybody else think that this is great. So we start to do that, and I know that was my fault, my story. And I want to say at the age of 40, I was like, you know what? I just had a good sit down with the father, and he had to remind me, I created you. I didn't make a mistake. I know exactly who you are. I
Mhm.
know your thought process. I know your character. I know you because I created you. I designed you. I didn't mess up and make you something different than what you was intended. And it was just like a wake up call for me at the age of 40. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be me. I'm going to stop
Mm.
trying to be anybody else, be everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. And the more I stepped out and started just being me, it's funny that that's what drew people to me. They would come to me with questions. What do you think, and how do you feel about this? And wanting to hear my ideas, my input, my take on something. And they would, really use what I say and say how much they appreciate it. And for me, that one of the business was childcare. I took care of children. I had childcare out of my home for over 4 years, and I mean, I had parents of all ages. And when their child would be going through something, be it crying about something, and I would say, "Oh, just do this, this, and this," and they would do it and come back. "Oh my goodness, I don't believe it! It worked! Da, 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 da. Oh my, how did you know?" And it's just life. I mean,
Mhm.
I had my own children, but it's just, I was drawn to children. I love children. And I always felt that children are so innocent that if they love you, if they're drawn to you, there's something good in you.
Yeah.
And that's
Mhm.
what always made me, if my child is a little uncomfortable, especially when they were younger, when they were small children, if they're uncomfortable around you, they don't want to be around you, that means
Yeah.
something is something. You may not have done anything to them, but they
Mhm.
see something.
Mhm.
And so that lets me, so when children were drawn to me, that made me feel special. I love children anyway, but that made me feel even more special. Total stranger in the hospital, walking down the hall, and this little boy, he just runs to me. Never seen him before. He may have been about 2 years old, and he grabs my leg
Mhm.
and hugging me. And
Mhm.
the father is like so taken back. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for what? For what? I love this. He's awesome."
Mhm.
He said he's never done that before. And I said, well,
Mhm.
thank God, because obviously he sees something in me that's
Yeah.
positive, that's good.
Yeah.
So I thank God for that, and that just made me break out of my shell even more, and wanted to step out and do even more things, and still learning more things today about
Mhm.
myself, as Tarshia says, learning so many things each time you try something. Oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent.
Mhm.
So we got to tackle fear. Kaya woman, the first
Yes.
wisdom key tonight is to tackle fear. What makes you afraid? Now, you're going to have an emotion of being scared. That's an emotion. But fear takes on a whole different monster. It comes with a purpose to cause you to shrink back, to not be. We talked about being authentic. I want to meet the authentic. When I meet a person, I don't want the airs. I want
Mhm.
to meet the person God created. I want
Yeah.
to meet the real you. We can put on so many different faces, but those things are only temporary. Okay? So fear. Somebody put that in the chat. And welcome to those of you who are joining us online. We are so happy to have you. Kaya women. I believe my husband's in the chat. Don't am I right, honey? I know you're not a woman. But so let's go deeper, ladies.
Mhm.
Let's go deeper. I have our next point that I want us to talk about. And so I'm gonna put it on the screen, and I'm gonna see who wants to jump in. Okay. She shows up strong while quietly healing what broke her. Ladies, we know that we have to keep going when tragedy happens, brokenness happens, disappointment happens, and the list can go on. But we have to continue to show up while we're healing. Let's talk.
Yes, I think
You
we
want to
have to
go
show
first?
up because we realize a lot of
Well,
times, well, I know for me,
I'll jump in. I'll say, for me, once you realize that you have that fear, I mean, it may take a, and I won't even say realize. I rephrase that. You have to think about why are you afraid? And I believe that's where you start tackling the fear. Is why am I afraid of this? What is the worst thing that I think can happen if I do this? What is the worst thing? Okay, I mess up. I didn't do well. It didn't plan out this time. But how many other people? When you hear stories, you hear of great, male and female who started at I remember reading a story about a woman, I think she was 50. She decided she wanted to lift weights and to go weight training. At 50 years old is when she started. She didn't start at 15 or 20. She started at 50. And she said it was her and her sister that was doing it. She was recognized, I think, in the Guinness Book of World. I can't think of her name right now, Guinness Book of World Record. And she was saying that, she started with her sister because they were going to do this together. Unfortunately, her sister passed away. So she had to make a decision. Am I going to keep going or am I going to stop now because I don't have the comfort or the comfort blanket, I would say, because you had a partner. Now, are you going to keep going or are you going to stop? She chose to keep going. So for me, that's what I started doing, is reading stories about different women overcoming different obstacles. How did they overcome it? What was their hindrance, and so then I start asking myself those questions. What am I afraid of? What is the worst thing that can happen? And I start addressing that and then go from there. I mean, okay, if it don't pan out, it don't pan out. What Life is not over. Do something else or start it again. For me, that was the first step. That is my first step of tackling fear.
All right. So, Tarshia, talk to us a little bit about showing up strong while you're quietly healing for something that broke you. We've all had disappointments. What do you do? How do you do that? What would you tell your sister?
well, for me, I show up strong because I know I have children and other people who look to me, to be an example. And how can I tell you to keep going if I'm not going? And even though I may be going slow or, like you say, healing in the background from things that hurt, I don't minimize it. Because sometimes we can show up strong and put on a face that we're so strong that we're not going through anything. No, but we got to be transparent to the point of, now you don't have to air everything out, but the fact of the matter, yes, I am hurt, but I can keep going because there's somebody out there who thinks, I'm too broken, I'm too this, I'm too that, I can't keep going. But no, you have to keep going in the middle. That's even the more reason to keep going, because you want to get on the other side of it. And you'll never get on the other side of anything if you stand in the same spot. So it's about forward motion, even when you're crying, you feel like you're dragging yourself, you're forcing yourself, or you don't think you're making progress, but inches turned a mile, one step in front of the other. And, I definitely want to be an example to my children because, like I said, I'm not going to be here forever. But when I leave here, I want to make sure you guys can stand strong because this world is not pulling no punches. So let me give it to you straight and y'all see what I'm going through, but I'm trying to impart in you, like, yes, you'll go through this, but this is how you handle it. But then that way you can show other people how to make it through too, because sometimes, people don't know God, they don't know Jesus, and we're the only example of it. Exactly. So we got to be his eyes, ears, and feet, and we got to show them, we got to keep pushing. And you just keep doing it no matter what. Because time goes on. That was a lesson I learned when I was really young, when I would, face things like, I got to give a project in school and things like that. But then when I got over it, I'd be like, whew. But I realized time's going to keep moving regardless. Eventually, I'm going to be on the other side of this. So I might as well be afraid, do it, and get to the other side.
Get
So
to
that's
the other
why
side.
I don't shrink back when it comes to things that are hard. Now, I might be pepping myself up in the background or crying if or whatever it is, but I'm going to do that thing because I'm going to get on the other side, and a lot of times it's not as bad as we think.
Mm.
So it's forward motion. It's just keep going forward.
Yes, and that sounds so easy in theory, okay? But when that crushing, so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm listening to you, and I have envisioned in my mind as my sister who the tears meet her pillow. You know, you have those moments where you're trying to be strong for those who are around you, you're trying to be strong for your children, and you have to take those moments in the shower where your tears are dropping. But one of the things that helped me to continue going, especially when I've had a devastating loss or a disappointment, is worship. Worship really saved my life. I didn't even know. So I remember the time when God was like, it was like he was so far away from me. And I knew who he was. And I had somewhat of a relationship with him. But I was in a time of my life where I really didn't know if I wanted to keep going. Because I mean, we're just gonna be really honest here. Okay. I'm just gonna crack it right on open. There are times where the pressure is so hard. You know, if you haven't cultivated that relationship with the Lord, you may let go. And so worship taught me the heart of God. And worship helped me to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I had no earthly idea that God was birthing relationship on the inside of me. And he created a hunger for me because it became so much so I couldn't make it through the day without worshiping him. That's the only way I was able to show up. It was the only way that I knew how to start healing on the inside because I looked broken to everybody on the outside. I felt like the woman in Luke 13 who was bent. I was living bent. And the people that saw me week and week, day after day, they never ministered to me. They talked about me. They didn't talk to me. They talked about me. And that only brought more brokenness. But I still kept showing up. But I thank God that through worship, he became a real person in my life. I'm feeling, I'm getting all filled up because I remember I couldn't trust anybody because it got to the point where every time I felt like I had a place where I could release, it always, my trust was always broken. So let's talk about that. I know that there's been times in our lives where we found out we trusted the wrong person. And instead of it bringing healing, it brought more pain. But yet, we still showed up.
Oh yeah, I can relate. I know exactly what you're talking about. Those quiet
Well, I'll
tears.
say for me,
Wait a minute, Apostle. Hold on,
oh,
Apostle. Okay, go ahead, Tasha.
I was going to say, I understand what you talk about, the quiet tears in the shower when you're, laying in the bed. Even still to this day, I have moments like that because, like you say, showing up. See, I'm the opposite to like what you were saying. Like people saw you broken. People don't see me broken as much. So they think that I've got it together, that I'm okay, I'm a strong person. But a lot of times, that's just, I choose to put on joy. Like I've made a choice a long time ago that I am going to choose joy. So when you see me, that's what you're going to encounter no matter what. But when I get home, worship is number one for me too, because music, I love it. Even to do my job. Sometimes when I'm working and I'm like trying to do 3 or 4 things, I put the music on.
Yes.
And it's just like, and it'll take me to a place. And sometimes I'm not even sitting at the computer. I'm crying. I got my hands lifted. And I'm just thanking God because I'm reflecting over everything. So even throughout all the bad, I can still see all the good, and he reminds me of all the good things that have happened. But I've come to a place where, and I don't have many people that I trust. And I've had a lot of people to walk out on me. And even to this day, there's people I don't even know why they walked out. I couldn't even tell you why. And I'm like, one, at least if I known if it was something in me, at least I can work on it. Because if it was something in me, then I can bring it to God and make the change so that I don't offend, or whatever the case may be, somebody else, so that I can be better.
Mm-hmm.
And or if it was just a problem you had, I mean, you didn't give me a chance to even apologize. And sometimes that bothers me the most, because I don't know why. And don't let me be blind, because if you love me, you'll tell me the truth, even if it hurts my feelings. I can take the truth in love, because it's not to bash me, but it's because if you love me, you want to see me better. But I've learned to stop searching for friends, because sometimes, we get caught up in the moment. Oh, she likes what I like, and we laugh, and she can relate to this, or he can relate to that, but they're not sent by God. So I just started, at one point, I really said, God, I'm not going to have no friends, and I'm okay with it. And I was young, like 24, 25. I was like, you know what? I'm just not meant to have friends, and I'm all right with that. But he started sending them one by one, and I can count them on my hands, but they are truly there, and we're like-minded in a lot of things. And sometimes we have to go past what sounds good and see the true heart of it. And these are people I can open up to and, be myself with, and that I know they'll carry my burden to God. They'll take it with me, and they'll help me when I'm down. But yeah, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to trust in the wrong thing, or somebody to just even betray you for no reason. It hurts, because you start to question yourself. And then you start saying, what's wrong with me? But it's like Apostle Yvonne said, there's nothing wrong with you. Now, we might make mistakes, but those can be corrected. But at the heart of it, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. No mistakes.
Psalm 139.
Remember that. But yeah, we got to let God send the right people to us.
The right people. So, Apostle, I want you to kick this one off. Sometimes, so when we think about valor, we always think of the warrior. Because of that warrior nature in me, I learned how to fight. A man of God that I admire very, very much said one time, now my family calls me Michelle. And he said, Michelle, you're a fighter. And that is true. I will fight to the finish. That sounds like Popeye, don't it? But I will fight to the finish. I don't know. That was something in me. I believe my mother imparted that into me, because she had that warrior nature. But it's not always about the fight, So once you've gone through the battle and God has healed you, and you're healed, but you come back around to people who hadn't been around you in a long time, and they don't know that you're in a new place, and they try to bring you back into that old space. And now it's time to guard what God has healed. Now that's a different kind of position as a warrior, a woman of valor. Apostle, talk about that.
I would say for me, with that particular, I remember a particular incident that occurred, and it was a disagreement with someone. And then it was time. What I had witnessed in ministry is seeing ministers get into the pulpit, and when they're upset, they're saying things, they're directing their message towards someone, and it is, they're angry, or they're frustrated at that individual. And because you kind of know that what may know a little about what's going on, the message is directed at that. And that was one thing that always bothered me. And I said, as a minister, I never want to stand in the pulpit and do that, So if something is on my heart that I'm still working on, I need to sit down, and I will sit myself down. I'll tell my leader, I'm not, today's not a good day for me. I'm still working on something. And this particular time, I was asked to bring the word, and I didn't want to bring it because, and at that, literally at service, I laid on the ground as we're going forth in worship. I laid there and I said, God, I'm not getting up until you heal my heart and deliver me. I cannot step in that pulpit with my heart the way it is right now. I need it to be right, because when I get up there, I do not want to bleed on these people. I do not want to just represent you the wrong way. And so I cried out to him, and that's how I always, that's a way that I guard, is to make sure my heart is in the right place. So if my heart is not in the right place and I know I'm not there yet, if you know me, I won't even preach about a message, preach a particular topic if I'm still walking through that. I'm not on the other side yet. I'm still walking through it. It's not time yet. So I feel like making sure your heart is right. And so how you guard your heart is always staying at the Father's feet. You know things that, and be honest with him and yourself. God, this person is really getting under my, whatever it is. I mean, they are really, be it at work. And for me, what he's always done, whenever I come to him about someone, pray for that. What?
Man, that flesh is going to get, it's going to get crushed
Every time.
every
Every time.
single time.
Mhm.
Don't you love
Yes.
it?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
gonna tell you, and I'm gonna let y'all have a little inside peek. I had a conversation with Dad the other day, and he said you're stretching, and so my capacity. I've been praying. Listen, this is what we pray for things. We ask God increase my capacity. That sounds so spiritual, don't it?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
when everything and start flying off the hinges, and you gotta pray more, you gotta war more, you gotta fast, you gotta uh, say I'm sorry when you didn't do anything. You got all this stuff, and he's stretching your capacity to forgive and to forgive quickly. Man, it be taking your flesh through the ringer. Okay, but
Mhm.
I prayed for that. So if we're
Yes.
gonna ask God to do things, we
Yes.
gotta now endure what it takes.
Right.
So the woman of valor, it's not just about her struggles, it's about her obedience. Oh God.
Yes.
Mhm.
You have to obey to your own default
Yes.
until it hurts. You don't get to choose, I'm gonna obey this time,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not gonna obey this time.
Right.
Because this don't fit into my narrative. No, that is not how this works.
Mhm.
Right.
And so, there have been times where Holy Spirit say to me, call such and such. Now I know such and such can't, ain't got, don't want nothing to do with me now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I am gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to obey because it's gonna mature me.
Yes.
It's gonna produce oil. And
Yes.
I'm in an oil producing season in my life, y'all. Everything that is attached to me is being
Mhm.
crushed,
Yep.
and
Yes.
I have to still show up. I'm
Yes.
showing up tonight, smiling, allowing
Mhm.
the joy of the Lord to be my strength. That's what the Chayil woman looks like.
Yes.
We have more weight than what has been granted to us as it relates to spiritual things. We still deal with the spirit of religion that wants to confine us to certain areas of access.
Yes.
When God has called us into some great exploits, I couldn't do something else if I wanted to because I didn't call myself.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I still got to say yes.
Yes.
It doesn't matter that so and so didn't believe who God said I
Mm-hmm.
am. This
Mm-hmm.
is where the courage. I have the courage to walk in the rooms that feel like I'm out of order.
Right.
Mhm.
But here's the thing. I got public fruit for what I endured through private obedience.
Mhm.
I know I'm not the only one. Talk to me, ladies. Talk to me.
Well, I want to say think well two parts. So going back to what you were saying about guarding what's healed,
Uh-huh.
sometimes the enemy's job is just to exhaust us. It's
Oh, come on.
sometimes it's not even like grand, like we think like, oh, he's coming for my house and my car and all this stuff. It's just to make us tired. So when God calls us to obey in a certain thing, we're mentally exhausted, we're physically exhausted, and we miss it. And then when you don't obey, like for instance, him telling you to make a phone call that particular day, if you were off doing something else, you're not in the right moment at the right time for the divine moment to happen. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to come back again, but now we've delayed God's process even more. And sometimes we look at why this isn't happening or why this is happening. We know what he said, but we weren't there when it happened. Like if I know if the bus comes at noon and I don't get there to 12:30, I can't be mad that I don't see the bus.
Come on.
I wasn't there when it came. So I
Ooh,
can't yell at the bus.
my
I knew
God.
what time it was coming. He told me, this is what it's going to be. It might be this year. Now we might not know the day of the time, but if we remain at his feet, it's always going to be perfect and he's always going to line it up. And yes, what we do in private is seen publicly because a lot of times you can tell somebody's heart posture in public. Like,
Mhm.
depending on what you say. If somebody curses all the time, that's because somewhere where I'm not seeing, that's what you're taking in.
Come
So
on.
what you take in comes out. That's like if I wipe up my counter with some juice, I'm going to squeeze the sponge and juice is going to come out. And that's what we see is in a person is when the squeezing comes. That's how you know what's in there. So that's why our job is to fill ourselves up with God, be obedient, and be in his perfect will and perfect time so that when the pressure does come, he comes out, he gets the glory, but then now here comes the next step of obedience. We just got to, follow his order. We can't skip.
Ah, that word right there is been coming through amplified. His
Mm,
order, his way, his rule, his reign. We cannot circumvent the order of God. He laid it out. Jesus came and modeled it. If
mhm,
Jesus had to follow an order, even before he took public ministry,
mhm,
look how many years he, knowing who he was God, but
mhm,
he submitted to an endurance and to a process and waited for his time to be revealed. As women of valor, we should not want to get ahead of God's timing for us, to sit and learn of him, not get ahead of the process, so that when he reveals us, we come through with character. We come through with integrity. We come through with a confidence that won't let us give up even when we want to give up. Y'all, I've had these moments. I'm
mhm.
telling you, this whole conversation has turned to a ministry session. I'm just gathering so much out of it because the towel has been in my hand. And you know how you take the towel and I've been turning the but I won't let it go
Mhm.
because I know that God is working behind the scene. And as a woman of God, I'm in authority, but I'm also under authority. And just because my gender is female, it doesn't disqualify God from using me. Nobody on this platform is disqualified because of your gender. Where in the world did that come from?
Mhm.
But we've been locked up and caged in because of that kind of thinking so long. And God is calling the Chayil woman to the front line. We're not overstepping the men of God. We're coming and we're pushing. We're bringing
Mhm.
aid. We're bringing support. We're bringing prayer. I pray for my husband. I'm telling you, I done learned here lately that God has increased his wisdom, and I thank God for his voice. So let's just talk a little bit um, of what it looks like to start again. But you got to start again without the bitterness of what happened to you before. Oh, my. I got tons of stories, but I'm going to be quiet. And
Yeah.
who wants to start, Apostle? You want to start?
Yes, I'll say starting again, it does, I believe you have to first realize where you are. So if starting again means sitting back, sitting down, taking some time to heal, to process, that's what you have to do before you step back. It's like boxing that comes across my mind. It's like in the boxing ring. They box for a certain length of time, and then they both go to their corners and they sit and they take a breather, and then they come back in. So you have to know, if you're not healed enough, if you need to take 6 months off, you need to take 3 months off, you need to sit for a while and just get poured into, then that's what you do. Make sure you're completely healed before you step back out. But know that you're going back out there. Know that you are going back out there. You are not, quitting is not an option. It may have crossed your mind, but in God's eyes, it's not an option. As a Chayil woman, quitting is not an option, not at all. You can take a break, you can take a breather, you can heal, you can make sure you're fully healed, and then get back up and let's go again. Let's do it again. Let's repeat it again. If I have to repeat that particular thing because I didn't learn the full lesson, then let's go through it again. Just like tests in school, some tests you have to repeat because you didn't pass it the first time, and some you did pass, and it's time for the next test. Because everything you go through, there's going to be a test at the end. Did you really learn that lesson in the process? You can't start again if you haven't learned that lesson, because you need to be prepared for the next lesson, because it's just compounding on top. You need to learn that lesson so you can, your what you've learned from this lesson, you're going to need it for the next one. It's the prerequisite that's needed, so you can't go to the next without making sure you've passed that lesson. So I think you got to know, if you need time to heal, take that time to heal.
Mhm. And not coming back with a survival mentality.
Right,
We've got to come out of that. I mean, barely making it. I'm just
right,
barely making it. When the word of God teaches us that we're more than conquerors, we're more than overcomers. We have so much inheritance that we don't use. Everything is not for us in the great by and by. It's for the now. This is for the now, Chayil woman. So coming out of that mindset of survival is very important. And how do we do that? The word discernment is floating around, kingdom now, but it is so true. So in times past, we've um, been like the endurance. So endurance is good. We talked about it earlier on, but when does your endurance turn into discernment of knowing when it's time to turn the page? Because we are designed to complete things. We're not supposed to be stuck in the same place forever. You start, you complete, and you move on to the next. You go from glory to glory, faith to faith. You got to get to a point of fulfilling and then starting again. So what does that look like for the two of you? I got a lot of that. But you know, being confident enough to complete an assignment and know when you fulfilled what God has required, and then you can move on. We got 4 minutes. Let's go.
Well, I think know what will discernment comes in when knowing when to leave something is when there's no more grace there. A lot of times we get into a place God puts us to, and there's grace to do it. Yeah, we face challenges, but the minute that you kind of, when you've overstayed your welcome at somebody's house, the little cues and things like that. And when you're in a place too long, it starts to become tough. You start to get exhausted. You start to get tired. And then sometimes we're hanging on for the wrong reasons. We got to check why we're still there. Are we there to make somebody else happy? I stayed at a job a long time because I felt like I didn't want to let them down. You know what I mean? And I knew, of course, there would be other people who could do what I do, but I did so much. And I was like, I don't want to let them down. But then even looking at that, it's like, you're still putting a lot of emphasis on the I. It's about God. Because it wasn't my job to save that company. So we got to check our motives behind why we're staying in a place for so long. Is it for us or is it for God? Is it for somebody else? Where's our motive at? And then it's really trusting him when he opens the door, because he will send open doors. Are we gonna step through it? Are we gonna be bold enough to step through and see what's on the other side? We want to know everything. We want to know all the steps before we make a decision. And sometimes he's just like, trust me, I got you. And we just got to learn to trust. A lot of times there's no trust in what's next. And that's a lot of things that hold us captive to certain situations.
How about this one? When helping you, it's hurting me. The word no is the complete sentence. We have an issue with that word as mothers. Let's talk about it. We got 2 minutes to talk about it from a standpoint, parental standpoint. Telling them beautiful little faces that we have raised from day one. They're the apple of our heart, but telling them no, especially as adults. Apostle. Apostle, can you hear me? You're on mute. Okay, there we go.
It is hard. It's definitely hard saying no.
Apostle?
Can you hear me?
I'm hearing an echo in the back.
I can hear you too. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can, but there's an echo in the back.
Are you able to hear me?
You're on mute. Okay, there we go.
Okay. It's definitely hard. It's definitely hard. It is very difficult to say no, because as you said, I think a lot of time is because we're seeing them in our eyes. Even though we're seeing them as adults, we're mentally seeing them still as children. So we're still thinking we're talking to that small child. And so the small child is the one that we think we're saying no to, rather than realizing they are a full-grown adult. You raised them, you poured into them, you gave them everything you knew to do, good and bad. And the areas that you realized you messed up, you came back and you told them, I messed up, I apologize, I could have done this better. And you got to move on. But you have to be able to say, you know what, y'all, you're an adult now. Just like when I was your age, my mother had to learn to let me go. I have to learn to let you go. So no, this one you're going to have to handle yourself. This one you're going to have to do on your own. You're going to have to make that decision. You're going to have to pull from within yourself what you've learned from me, what God himself has taught you, and then just life experiences. I'll be there to give you some counsel or some wisdom, but you've got to make some hardcore decisions. And I have to back off and say, you're in God's hands. It's hard, but it has to be done.
It has to be done. You're right. It has to be done. Well, we're winding down to the top of the hour. I'm going to turn it over to Tarshia to lead us out.
Counsel or some wisdom.
Well, I just wanted to encourage everybody that the woman of valor, the Chayil woman, is not a woman that has everything together, all her I's dotted and all her T's crossed, but it's just a woman who shows up in her authentic skin, no matter what that looks like. It's a woman who doesn't give up. It's a woman who doesn't back down. It's a woman who can be there when she's needed, can be resourceful, and just possibly work on being the best version of herself that there is. Every day, there's a new version of us waiting to be birthed. Every day, wake up and ask God, what do you want from me today? What is the plan for today? How are you going to use me today? And sometimes it's not always just looking inward, it's looking outward as to, what can we do to help others? Because even though we might look at our flaws, there's somebody going through something that might even be a worse situation than we are. So we got to count our blessings for where we are, because we didn't have to be at the point we're at now, but it's by the grace of God. And I just want to say that I hope this chat encouraged you guys tonight. I hope you guys come back next month, March 10th at 8 o'clock, so that we can talk about strength without softness lost. Just because as women, we can be strong, but we can still be soft. We can still be feminine. We can still go to war with our heels on. We can still put our face on. We can still battle and still keep it cute and love the Lord. So I just want to just encourage all women just to be who you are. Somebody needs who you are. Don't try to be nobody else, because if there's two of you, there's no need for one. God made each of us different because we fit together in a puzzle. Not all the pieces are the same, but we work together. And we work together to get things done. We work together to accomplish things and to build each other up. No competition. We should not be competing with everything, because I don't care if we do the same thing, we're going to do it different. My voice is going to reach different people. My t-shirts are going to reach a certain people, and somebody else's t-shirts. I'm not inferior. If anything, I'm learning and I'm pushing and I'm encouraging others and pouring out what I know. I'm not gatekeeping no information. If God blessed me in something and you need help, we're there to help each other out. That is the Chayil woman. That is the woman of valor today. So I just want to encourage you guys all to just keep smiling, be who God called you to be. And if you don't know, seek him. He'll tell you. There's things in you that you don't even know. And it don't matter what age you are, what race, what gender, what life has done to you. I don't care how broken you are. There's nothing that God can't put in his hands and put it back together again. I don't care how many pieces you're in. Just know that God loves you and we love you. And just look forward to the T2 Empowered page. There might be some follow-up questions, some encouragement. Who knows? There might even be some contests. All kind of things. We want to highlight women, and we just want you to know that you guys are important. So join us next month, March 10th, on a Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, and we'll see you then. We love you. Love you, love you. Have a good night.
You are chosen for beautiful things, even broken. I hear the stars singing your praise, calling you out, saying your name. No, it's no doubt, God made no mistake.